The question of why many people over the age of 80 begin to lose their vitality has long occupied the minds of researchers and laypersons alike. It seems as though they were full of energy and mental clarity just recently, and now their health and interest in life are fading. Many are convinced that after 80, everything depends solely on genetic predisposition or good luck. However, this is only part of the truth. There are factors that often go unnoticed, but have a huge impact on the quality of life in old age. We are talking about 5 unexpected reasons that are rarely spoken aloud, but play a key role in why some people find it so difficult to stay healthy and active after 80. These are not banal tips about healthy eating, quitting smoking, and regular exercise. This is something deeper and less obvious, eluding the attention of even those who generally lead a healthy lifestyle. But there is also good news. Awareness of these factors makes it possible to influence the situation and take measures to improve one's future. If you are interested in learning what exactly hinders longevity after 80 and how to avoid it, don't miss the opportunity to watch until the end. This knowledge may be the key to changing the aging process and meeting old age fully armed while there is still time to act. The first and often underestimated reason for the reduction in life after 80 lies in the gradual disappearance of so-called microsocial interaction. This is not about strong friendships or family celebrations, although their importance is undeniable, but about minor, seemingly trivial contacts that imperceptibly filled everyday life. Remember how often you greeted the postman, exchanged witty remarks with the cashier at the supermarket, or nodded to the neighbor walking the dog. These fleeting moments of communication were not just enjoyable. They had a beneficial effect on the nervous system, strengthened the sense of belonging, and supported the activity and involvement of the brain in social life. However, after 80, many elderly people stop visiting stores on their own, preferring online orders or help from relatives. They avoid conversations with strangers due to hearing impairment or simply stop going outside due to the vagaries of the weather or knee problems. And when these small islands of social interaction begin to disappear, something more disappears with them: life energy. Interestingly, the vast majority of people do not notice the changes taking place, believing that they are only making their lives easier. In reality, they are depriving themselves of simple but important social contacts that activate brain activity, improve mood, and create a sense of belonging to a dynamic world. We are not talking about something complicated. For example, there are elderly men who have retained their mental clarity thanks to daily visits to a familiar coffee shop, where they greeted the staff and exchanged nods with passers-by. This short episode of human communication was not just a ritual for them, but a source of life energy. It structured their day, supported a sense of responsibility, and gave the feeling that they were being noticed. And when this connection is broken, the body suffers losses. The brain perceives loneliness, both acute and subtle, as a stress factor. This leads to hormonal disruptions, increased inflammation, and weakening of the immune system. But most importantly, the brain begins to reduce the neural networks responsible for memory, attention, and emotional stability. Simply put, this accelerates the aging process. When a person notices that their circle of acquaintances is narrowing, that they avoid spontaneous conversations, and feel cut off from society, this is a warning sign. It is important to realize the need for change. These fleeting moments of interaction, which seem insignificant, actually send a powerful signal to the brain and body that the person is still valuable and is part of something bigger. This sense of belonging serves as a powerful stimulus for maintaining life energy, not only physical, but also spiritual. Another common but inconspicuous reason why many people do not reach the age of 80 lies in excessive caution. At first glance, prudence may seem like a manifestation of wisdom, but there is a fine line between reasonable caution and paralyzing inaction. Crossing this line does not entail immediate consequences, but its influence gradually accumulates. Often, it all starts with good intentions. For example, after accidentally falling on the stairs or losing balance on the street, a person may decide to limit their walks. They stop bending down for items on the lower shelves or have difficulty getting into a car. More and more time is spent sitting. Those around them approve of such caution, warning against excessive activity and urging them not to rush. Unknowingly, a person creates a safe but motionless life. However, there's an aspect often overlooked in discussions about physical activity. When movement ceases, strength leaves not only the limbs, but also the coordination, balance, and internal stability of the body. The human body isn't a mechanism that maintains its efficiency in a state of rest. Rather, it resembles a garden requiring constant care and cultivation. With decreased activity, it's not merely about preserving the current state, but a gradual weakening. One of the first places where the consequences of inactivity manifest is the core. Many people don't realize the critical role of the deep torso muscles in maintaining basic functions: standing, walking, lifting weights, and even getting out of a chair. If these muscles don't receive sufficient load, even for a short time, they begin to contract, negatively affecting balance. Unsteadiness appears, and this process only worsens over time. As an example, consider the story of 82-year-old Walter, who stopped his evening walks after accidentally falling on a rainy day. Despite the absence of serious injuries, the fright was sufficient reason to abandon physical activity. Walter replaced his daily mile walk with prolonged sitting in front of the television. Over 6 months, he lost about 10 pounds of muscle mass, and his legs became weak and unstable. The doctor's warnings came too late. Walter didn't stop moving because of weakness, but became weak because he stopped moving. It's important not to disregard existing dangers, but there are rational ways to protect yourself. Using handrails, wearing shoes with good soles, keeping pathways clear, and even using a cane when necessary can help. However, it's important to distinguish between managing risks and surrendering to them. When fear begins to control your actions, the body gradually loses its ability to move. Therefore, if you notice that you're limiting your activity, not because of physical limitations, but because of concerns, pay attention to it. Ask yourself, am I protecting myself or gradually disappearing? After all, life after 80 isn't just about avoiding falls. It's about continuing to move, even if it requires more caution, slowness, and awareness. Movement is a way for the body to remember its necessity. This is how the functioning of all body systems is maintained, brain alertness is preserved, and the heart continues to beat. The third problem is the disruption of sleep cycles due to irregular exposure to light. Inside our bodies are invisible mechanisms that, although silent, control almost everything: our mood, metabolism, immune system, and even brain recovery processes during sleep. After 80, these internal clocks, known as circadian rhythms, become particularly susceptible to disruptions. One of the main causes of such disruptions is a lack of daylight and an excess of artificial lighting at night. At first, this may go unnoticed. Perhaps a person begins to feel the need for a longer daytime rest, finding comfort in a midday nap. Or perhaps they gradually abandon regular walks in the fresh air, especially when the cold seasons arrive. Evenings may be filled with the flicker of a television screen or the light streaming from under a nightlight while a person immerses themselves in reading or watching a movie. Each of these changes, taken individually, may seem harmless, but together they subtly introduce confusion into the body's natural biorhythms, disrupting its understanding of when to be awake and active and when to rest and recover. The human body relies heavily on natural light to maintain its internal routine. Bright morning light signals the brain, waking it up and prompting activity, directing energy to the right places. As darkness falls, on the other hand, the production of melatonin is activated, a hormone that gently prepares the body for deep and restorative sleep. However, When the eyes don't receive enough natural daylight, or when evenings are filled with artificial light emitted by gadget screens and lamps, the body's internal signals begin to get confused, leading to an imbalance of circadian rhythms. Sleepless nights and interrupted sleep can become insidious enemies, depriving a person of the ability to fully rest and recover. Even after prolonged time in bed, the feeling of being broken and tired doesn't leave. Daytime energy runs out, and memory seems shrouded in fog. However, the consequences of disrupted sleep extend far beyond simple fatigue. They undermine the immune system, weaken emotional stability, and even increase the risk of cognitive impairment. It's also important to remember vitamin D, which the body synthesizes when exposed to sunlight. As we age, especially after 80, the skin's ability to produce this essential vitamin decreases. Regularly spending time outdoors becomes vital for maintaining healthy bones, muscles, and the immune system. For example, there's the story of 84-year-old Helen, who complained of constant fatigue and disorientation. Medical tests showed no abnormalities, her diet remained the same, and she hadn't started any new medications. The solution turned out to be surprisingly simple. Her doctor recommended she spend 20 minutes each morning sitting by a window with the blinds open and avoid screens for an hour before bed. Within 2 weeks, Helen's sleep improved, her memory became sharper, and her mood stabilized. The secret wasn't a miracle pill, but the healing power of light. If someone spends most of their time in semi-darkness, shutting themselves off from the world with heavy curtains, or if their evenings are only brightened by the cold glow of electronic screens, it's time for a drastic change. Make it a habit to go outside within the first hour of waking up, even if it's just for a few minutes to stand on the porch. Give your eyes and skin a chance to soak up the morning light. In the evening, on the other hand, dim the lights to allow your body to gradually prepare for rest. These seemingly minor actions aren't just a matter of comfort, but a matter of survival. Many people don't realize that aging is caused not only by physical wear and tear, but also by internal disorganization and the desynchronization of various systems. Restoring light signals, normalizing sleep patterns, and establishing circadian rhythms are ways to regain lost organization, to let the body know that even in old age, it's still functioning on schedule, in motion, and continuing to live. Emotional suppression caused by loss and loneliness is also a serious problem. By the age of 80, many people have experienced more loss than most younger people can imagine. Spouses, siblings, close friends, and sometimes even children pass away. And while others may express sympathy, few truly understand how much these losses accumulate, not only in memory, but also in the body. Often, after 80, it's not just grief, but emotional suppression, a slow, subtle habit of swallowing pain instead of expressing it, of putting on a mask of indifference because it seems like it's time to get used to it, or because there's no one left who could understand the depth of the loss. The truth is that the human body has an amazing memory. Unexpressed grief, the kind that remains unspoken, unshared, and unfelt to its fullest extent, doesn't disappear without a trace. It accumulates, eventually turning into a palpable physical burden. This emotional baggage negatively impacts the immune system, disrupts digestion, affects sleep quality, causes hormonal imbalances, and puts the nervous system in a state of chronic, subtle tension. The most insidious thing about this process is its stealth. Outwardly, a person may appear calm and even claim that they are fine. However, if the shoulders have become heavier, the breathing more shallow, and the inner spark has faded, depriving them of a sense of fullness of life, the cause may be unexpressed grief, even if the tragic event happened many years ago. For example, there's the story of George, an 86-year-old man who lost his wife of 6 decades. He didn't show any strong emotions, explaining it by his character and claiming that he felt fine. Nevertheless, he lost a noticeable amount of weight within a year, stopped going to the senior center, and began to suffer from insomnia. The reason for these changes was not a physical illness, but the burden of sorrow that his body carried, never having had the opportunity to release it. Often, emotional wounds that seem insignificant can cause significant harm. Their connection to declining health isn't always obvious. Longevity that extends beyond the age of 80 is determined not only by physical endurance, but also by the ability to express emotions. Having reliable channels for releasing sadness, fear, and anguish is key. Being able to openly talk about your feelings. I miss him. I'm still angry. I feel lonely. Without fear of judgment, allows the heart to breathe freely. It is this liberation that gives the heart the opportunity to fill with life again and the body to heal. People who have reached old age usually have such an outlet. This could be a close friend they can confide in, a personal journal, faith, a religious community, or a therapist who helps them sort through the experiences accumulated over the years. The form is not what matters, but the principle. Expressed feelings can be transformed, while suppressed feelings eat away from within. If a person is holding back their emotions, not by choice, but due to a lack of a suitable way to express them, it's time to find a solution. This is important not only for emotional well-being, but also for preserving life. The heart cannot bear a heavy burden indefinitely. Sooner or later, it will begin to fade. To not just live to 80, but to live a full life, one must unleash their feelings. Number 5 on the list of factors hindering well-being in old age is the insidious loss of a daily purpose. We're talking about the gradual disappearance of something often underestimated until it's too late: a daily goal. This isn't a global life mission, but a simple aspiration that provides the incentive to wake up in the morning to do something, go somewhere, meet someone. This goal doesn't have to be grandiose. It could be watering the flowers in the garden before the heat sets in, feeding the neighbor's cat waiting at the door, writing a letter to a beloved granddaughter, or repairing a loose hinge on the gate. However, when these small but significant things disappear from life, when the morning doesn't bring a desire to act, and the evening doesn't offer pleasant reflections, something inside a person begins to fade. The body is keenly responsive to the signals of the mind, and when the mind no longer sees the point in moving forward, the body obeys. Appetite disappears. Movements slow down. Without a clear purpose, the body's systems, previously supporting health, gradually shut down. It's not that they're broken, but that they're waiting for a stimulus to resume work. Loneliness creeps in unnoticed, like a shadow lengthening with the sunset. First, the usual weekly bridge game is canceled. Then, the church community stops gathering. The voices of loved ones are heard less often within the walls of the house, and the once beloved volunteer work becomes impossible due to knee pain. The thought creeps in that this is a natural course of events, an inevitable companion of mature years. But somewhere deep down, anxiety grows. The days lose their colors, merging into a monotonous sequence, each quieter than the last. Once fate brought me to Ruth, an 88-year-old woman whose life energy was so vibrant it eclipsed many who were half her age. She didn't live in luxury, she wasn't in excellent health, and she wasn't surrounded by a large family. But she had a secret: unchanging rituals that filled each day with meaning. Every Monday she devoted herself to writing encouraging cards to parishioners who couldn't leave their homes. Every Thursday she made fragrant soup which she froze for the local shelter. And every day, around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, she took her place by the window, watching the children returning from school. She knew each one by name, greeted them with a wave, and in return received joyful smiles. There was nothing ostentatious in these simple activities, but they gave a unique texture to her days. They set the rhythm for her heart, filling her life with continuity and a sense of belonging to the world. There is a secret truth that is not usually discussed openly. The human body retains its vitality as long as it maintains faith in its necessity. Purpose, even the most modest, plays the role of vital fuel, giving cells the impulse to regenerate organs to function smoothly, and the brain to learn continuously. The loss of this sense of significance, the feeling that a person's presence no longer matters to anyone or anything, leads to the fading of the inner flame. That's why people who have passed the age of 80 and retained their grace and energy usually have something that serves as an anchor for their daily lives. It could be a passion for gardening, caring for a pet, keeping a journal, participating in some ritual, a regular phone call, or even a simple morning prayer. What matters is not the scale of the activity, but its consistency and the realization that with the opening of your eyes in the morning, there is a reason to wake up. If you feel lost, feel that your days have lost their shape or meaning, don't ignore these signals. This isn't just fleeting sadness, but a call from the body, which again needs rhythm, structure, connection, and purpose. After all, longevity is not just a mechanical heartbeat, but the desire of the heart to continue beating. It's a quiet but persistent desire to move forward, stay connected with the world, and feel significant. It is this aspiration that sustains people after 80 and fills their lives with meaning. In conclusion, it is worth emphasizing an important truth that is often overlooked. Most people do not lose their life energy after the age of 80 as a result of some single tragic event. It's not about a sudden diagnosis, an accidental fall, or a milestone birthday that instantly turns everything upside down. More often than not, it's a gradual and subtle process of losing beneficial habits, established routines, and a sense of involvement in what's happening around you. These changes often occur so smoothly and imperceptibly that a person doesn't realize them until their inner state becomes more somber and joyless than before. However, there's good news. Just as these negative changes occur gradually, they can be reversed just as slowly. A short walk in the fresh air, a casual conversation with a stranger at the store, a light morning workout, or any other activity done not out of a sense of obligation, but for the pleasure and sense of purpose it brings. All of this can be a starting point for positive change. Reflecting on the 5 unexpected factors affecting aging discussed earlier, it's worth considering which one was the most surprising and which evoked a sense of uncomfortable recognition. More importantly, it's necessary to determine what specific actions, even the smallest, can be taken starting today. After all, everyone has far more potential than they realize at first glance. It's not about stopping the aging process, but about changing your attitude towards it and influencing its course. By paying attention to the subtle changes, safeguarding your life's rhythm, protecting your goals, and allowing yourself to experience the full spectrum of emotions, there's a high probability of not just living to 80, but of living a long, rich, and fulfilling life while remaining the master of your own destiny.